Hello everybody. In today's session, we will get oriented on what is a curriculum, the mode of planning a curriculum, the principles and some other components related to the same. So, first and foremost, let us see what a curriculum is. Curriculum is an educational tool to help the teacher implement the preschool's educational goals into practice. It contains both educational and administrative elements that allow the teacher and staff to organize and carry out their work. It is important that the curriculum must be determined by the teacher and other staff. Some fundamental principles have been structured on a common basis for all preschool professionals. Many of us tend to use the words curriculum and syllabus synonymously, but they actually aren't the same. Preschool children learn from everywhere. They better learn from their experience and in turn it fosters their healthy development. Children acquire intellectual and social knowledge and learning during their daily activities. A good syllabus is always enjoyable and challenging, and it fosters learning in a wide variety of subjects and contributes to the child's better understanding of the world at large. In every preschool, activities and curriculum are planned considering the goals and objectives of the preschool. It should allow all staff members to participate fully. The pedagogic work plan includes a breakdown of the knowledge, values, skills and abilities the children are expected to develop and design for the ways for their promotion. The aims of the syllabus are determined by the teacher and staff while adhering to the policies of the Ministry of Education, the local authority and views the educators strive to promote. Planning the work of the preschool should also demonstrate the professional expertise of the teacher regarding the children's development, learning programs and her familiarity with the specific group of children at her class that particular year. Every preschool program must allow children to reach significant results in terms of development and learning through a variety of age appropriate experiences such as play, different ways of expression and learning that interest them. Now, let us take a look at the basic tenets of curriculum development. The curriculum should be developed based on the needs and capabilities of young children, for recognizing special characteristics of children's thinking, to include formal and informal interaction, to have familiarity and challenge in everyday rhythm, to promote privacy of experience rather than expertise, based on developmentally appropriate practice, using locally available material and knowledge which emphasize the diversity and culture of the children. Having understood in simple terms about the curriculum and syllabus, let us now understand what are the principles of education program. The preschool education work program sets targets that reflect the staff's professional views, the preschool education division policy and that of the district and local authorities and the population sector, as well as the directive outlined by the learning programs. Reflects the expertise of each member of staff. Includes activities that must be initiated by both adults and children. Includes pre-planned activities and those generated following events in the preschool and local community. Is constructed based on children's existing knowledge. Reflects the unique class structure and it includes the design of the learning environment, range of activities taking place in the same area at one time and activities planned under the guidance of an adult as well as those planned by the children themselves. It also includes learning experiences that follow the developmental needs and educational requirements of young children. Games using different colors, various methods of expression, activities for children with different learning styles and integrative themes that the children know and are interested in attending. Reflects the deliberate adaptation to the socio-cultural context of the community, reflects children's need based on the teacher's assessments, reflects the teacher's reflective assessment of her work. Now, let us check in detail about the types of education programs. They are of three types, namely annual, medium term and short term. Annual education program. Annual education program determines the general aims. These goals will explain how the activities for the whole academic year would take place. The annual planning ensures the coordination between the staff members. This creates a healthy atmosphere at preschools. The education program for the whole year includes the results of repeated major courses of action that foster children's development. Medium-term education plan is planned based on the assessment of the children's needs and should also reflect the events at the preschool and in the community. It sets out specific goals for the coming several months for all the children at the preschool and for various groups of children. Moreover, the plan also details the main regulation for preschools and changes in the design of the educational surroundings. Short-term educational plan is taken from the medium-term plan. The time in this case varies from a few days to a week, and the program is based on assessments of the children's need and should reflect the events in the preschool and the community. The short-term plan sets out operational goals and details the activities for all the children as well as individual plans for various groups of children. When planning activities, it is important to remember the subject of the activity, the areas in which the activity will help the child's development, the defined goals, the children who will take part in the activity, the instruction methods to be used, during what part of the daily routine the activity will take place, the location of the activity, if it is a one-time activity or whether it will be continued, and who will lead the activity. Let me now discuss about the organization of the annual work program. The preschool work plan covers the whole school year. An organizational annual work plan allows the preschool staff to schedule the attainment of goals and help in planning instruction. The organizational work plan must determine the timetable for the children's participation in the different activity at the preschool, to organize and coordinate the staff's work, to summarize information on the children and prepare future activity, to reflect on the work of the teacher and staff, parent participation, community activities, meetings with the interested officials. The organizational annual work program is part of a portfolio which includes procedures, forms, letters, security and safety arrangements and preschool maintenance. Changes during the academic year may require updating the agenda. The daily schedule as well as topics of meeting and activity will be determined close to the time of the event. The educational program will include the core subjects like life skills, physical education, introduction to reading and writing, science and technology, maths, arts, Bible stories, culture, heritage and tradition. Are you familiar with the maxims of teaching? A student teacher should be quite familiar with the various maxims of teaching and be able to apply appropriately in the context in which she or he is engaged. They are: proceed from the known to the unknown. The most natural and simple way of teaching a content or a lesson is to proceed from something that the student already knows to those facts which they do not know. The teacher is to proceed using steps to connect the new matter to the old one. Proceed from simple to complex. The simple task or topic must be taught first and the complex one can follow later on. The words simple and complex are to be seen from the point of view of the child and not that of an adult. Proceed from easy to difficult. The student at the elementary stage should be exposed to the easiest thing first and then move to the difficult. This will help in sustaining the interest of the students. Proceed from concrete to abstract. A child's imagination is greatly aided by a concrete material. Things first and words next is the common saying. Small children learn first from things which they can see and handle concretely. Care must be exercised to ensure that the students do not remain at the concrete stage all the time. This is the initial step for children with a view to reach the higher stage of abstraction as they advance in age. Proceed from particular to general. Before giving principles and rules, particular examples should be presented. As a matter of fact, a study of particular facts should lead the children themselves to frame general rules. Proceed from indefinite to definite. Ideas of children in the initial stages are indefinite and vary vaguely. These ideas are to be made definite, clear, precise and systematic. Effective teaching necessitates that every word and idea presented should stand out clearly in the child's mind. Proceed from empirical to rational. Observation and experience are the basis of empirical knowledge. Rational knowledge implies a bit of abstraction and argumentative approach. The general feeling is that the child first of all experiences knowledge in this day-to-day life and later he feels rationally. Proceed from psychological to logical. In the psychological approach, one proceeds from the concrete to abstract, from the simple to the complex and from the known to the unknown. Psychological approach aims at the child's interests, needs, mental makeup and reactions. Logical approach is concerned with the arrangement of the subject matter. While treating a subject logically, we are usually thinking of it from our own point of view and not from the point of view of the child. Proceed from whole to part. Whole is more meaningful to the child than the parts of the whole. The whole approach is generally better than part learning because the material to be learnt makes sense and its part can be seen by the learner as interrelated. The learner sees a relationship between the central ideas of the material to be learnt. However, the whole unit or passage for slow learners should be smaller than the whole for the fast learners. From near to far. A child dwells in the surrounding in which he resides. So, he or she should be first acquainted with his or her immediate environment. Gradually, he or she may be taught about the things which are away from the logical geography and then take up block, district, state, country and the world gradually. From analysis to synthesis. Analysis means breaking a problem into convenient parts and synthesis means grouping of these separated parts into one complete whole. A complex problem can be made simple and easy by dividing them bit into unit. From actual to representative. When actual objectives are shown to children, they learn easy and retain them in their minds for a long time. This is especially suitable for younger children. Representative objects in the form of pictures, models, etc. should be used for grown-ups. Proceed inductively. In the inductive approach, we start from particular examples and establish general rules with the active participation of the learners. In the deductive approach, we assume a definition, a general rule or a formula and then apply it to the particular examples. It must be accepted that in the ultimate analysis, maxims are meant to be our servants and not our masters. It is therefore essential that a judicious use should be made of each maxim. Other principles to be followed while teaching include principle of a definite goal. Teaching should start with a definite goal. In the absence of the definite goal or aim, the teacher might go astray and at the same time his teaching might lack coherence and definiteness. The students do not gain much if the lesson is transacted haphazardly and aimlessly. Without a definite aim or a goal, even the best lesson would fail to achieve its objective. Definite aim is of great help to both the teacher and the taught. It makes the teaching interesting, effective, precise and definite. Principle of achieving participation in learning. Teaching becomes effective only when the student actively, both physically and mentally, participates in the lesson. Children learn their best through psychologically sound activities. Learning by doing removes the dullness of the lessons and puts the children in life situations. The child engages himself fully in the activity and learns qualitatively as well as quantitatively. Only that knowledge becomes a part of life which he gains through self-activity. Hence, teaching should be organized so as to provide the maximum opportunities to the child to learn by doing. Principle of motivation and interest. Principle of motivation is considered very important to carry out successful teaching learning process. It is said that half the battle is won if the students are truly motivated for the lesson. Motivation is the petrol that drives the mental engine. Motivation not only promotes but also facilitates learning. It arouses the interest of the child, and once he is genuinely interested, he becomes attentive and consequently learning becomes effective. Hence, teachers should properly motivate the students by creating interesting learning situations. Principle of cooperation. Teaching turns successful only when there is cooperation between the teachers, and hence a teacher should plan his teaching to give the pupils abundant opportunities for cooperation in organizing, managing, participating in discussions and in other classroom activities. Principle of creativity and recreation. Successful teaching is a source of happiness to the teacher and students. Work becomes its own reward for the teacher and the students enjoy it to the maximum. Successful teaching proves to be a source of creativity and recreation. It awakens in the learners the desire to be creative and engages them in activity which is a source of pleasure to them. Principle of progressiveness. A good teacher must be concerned with the progress of children in the development of attitude and interests, ideas and information, skills and abilities, and development of habits of thought and action. Good teaching looks forward for improvement in the light of new experiments in the field of teaching. When teaching improves steadily, it is progressive. The curricular framework for early childhood education is not the same as the curricular framework of higher classes. The main objectives of early childhood education are overall development of the child to enable him or her to realize his or her maximum potential, preparation for schooling, and providing support service for women and girls. The curriculum is defined as development and age appropriate, all-round, play-based, integrated, experiential, flexible and contextual. The guiding principles of the early childhood curriculum are: play should be seen as the basis of learning. Art should be seen as a base to recognition of the special features of children's thinking. Primacy of experience should be focused on rather than expertise. Experience of familiarity and challenge in everyday routine. Mix of formal and informal interaction. Use of local materials, arts and knowledge. Developmentally appropriate practice, flexibility and plurality. Overall well-being and development of healthy habits. Curricular framework for 3 to 5-year-old children. The curriculum is the sum total of everything that happens in the classroom, and its contents can be drawn from the child's entire natural and social world. The strategies and methods to be followed by the teacher must be drawn from these basic principles and should be adapted to the age of the child. Let us now discuss on play as the basis for learning. Most early childhood thinkers have emphasized the importance of play in a child's life. This is because play is natural, spontaneous, attractive, enjoyable and rewarding to the children, and it is self-initiated. It prompts growth and development in each domain of development. For example, it stimulates curiosity and exploration, leads to mastery of body control skills, encourages creativity and social skills, and develops emotional balance and language skills. However, parents at all levels often view play as a waste of time in opposition to learning. Hence the term activity-based curriculum. Early childhood settings must cater to the requirements of supervised play with objects such as balls, sand boxes, swings and rocking toys. The play area should be appropriate for explorative activities and for gaining mastery over physical competencies. Playing on a jungle gym and spending time in walking and balancing areas will help children gain confidence. Running, jumping and balancing are necessary for 3 to 5-year-olds. Free play can be arranged both indoors as well as outdoors. Outdoor play is more highly beneficial as it aids in the development of gross motor skills, while indoor free play such as beading, pegboards and puzzles is largely beneficial for the development of fine muscle skill. Mechanical toys are helpful in enhancing fine motor skills. Play can include drawing lines, dabbing in color, and sometimes in matching and pairing activities. Worksheets can comprise matching familiar objects and occasionally coloring within outlines. Such activities need to be balanced with opportunities for free drawing where colors and crayons are the modes of expression. Arts as a basis for education. With early childhood being the foundation for initiating an interest in forming positive attitudes towards learning, contents of joyful expression and comprehension can be created through the use of arts in many forms. Arts are integral to developing children's interests and have the propensity of naturally invoking a flow of children's responses. Time divisions should afford freedom for children to explore their desire for movement. Aesthetic experience through music and art can easily be a part of the daily routine. For example, beginning the day with songs, group moments, and physical exercise. Each day needs a song time when children can repeat songs or rhymes. Creative drama is a particularly enabling experience that sharpens children's observation. Drama can be introduced as a classroom resource in many different ways, such as having a doll's house where children get familiar sets to explore and the opportunity to pretend to be the people with whom they live. It allows free rein to fantasy as well as offers insights into the social and emotional areas of the children's life beyond school. Children can also have access to baskets of props such as sandals and shoes, old pairs of spectacles, etc. to play with and impersonate adults inhabiting their environments for the sheer joy of being the other. Such opportunities lead to acts that foster curiosity, confidence, and conviviality. If possible, children should be allowed to experience the presence of local artists. Recognition of the special features of children's thinking. The early childhood curriculum has a major impact on children's interests and performance in the later years of schooling. Children have a natural desire and capacity to learn and to make sense of the world around them. They develop concepts about themselves and others and the world around them through interacting with people and real objects and by seeking solutions to concrete problems. They learn mathematics and science by pouring water into bottles, filling caps with sand, counting beads, and distributing plates for snacks. They enjoy sorting objects and arranging them in ascending or descending order. They learn about transformation in the environment by watching plants grow. The early childhood teacher needs to draw the children's attention to such acts through conversations. Children learn to communicate, express themselves, and comprehend the world around them in an atmosphere of trust. Storytelling, talking about their personal likes and dislikes, and describing their emotions and feelings are examples of children's meaning-making processes. Making such active choices and claiming the space for dialogue allows children to reflect on their acts of learning and thus grow and mature. Blend of the textual and the cultural. One of the complaints voiced most often about a play-based curriculum is the absence of emphasis on the teaching of the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. It would be unfair to young minds at this age to expect them to grapple with the abstract. Yet, learning the vocabulary of quantity, heavy, light, more, less, few, many, and understanding the difference through activities would clarify pre-numeracy concepts. Children can grasp these notions through games, worksheets, and other sensorial sources such as play with objects or dramatic acts. Pre-literacy involves play with shapes and sizes and learning to master fine motor skills to be able to gain mastery of neuromuscular functions. Art activities converge with pre-literacy tasks. Children need to participate in as many activities that will promote familiarity with labels and help them identify sounds and words. Listening to stories and poems, going on field trips, looking at charts and posters are all activities to initiate an interest in reading and writing. Mix formal and informal interaction. Play interspersed with sit-down activities can help channel the restlessness, energy and active disposition of young children. Children must feel safe and should be able to express themselves without fear of loss of identity. Such security is possible only if the child experiences familiarity. Personalizing the pedagogical spaces is the most crucial activity for young children. A special time can be set aside when children are encouraged to talk about their personal preferences and choices or describe events that hold special meaning if the children are permitted to work in small groups and join together to perform a large group activity. Classroom need to be organized so that they have both small group areas as well as big circle time for the whole group to meet and interact. Familiarity and challenge in everyday rhythms. Children need to repeat not only songs and stories but also activities. During the early years, repetition is an essential form of learning. Therefore, the daily timetable should include certain basic activities every day. This gives the children a sense of security. But the routines should not be rigid. They should be flexible, open to suggestions from children, able to accommodate unexpected events such as a visitor or a celebration, and be able to adapt to children's changing attention spans and shifting moods. Variety is basic to any activity that seeks to challenge. Primacy of experience and not expertise. The early childhood classroom must be lively and offer wide-ranging activities for children to be intellectually curious. Often, the inputs tend to be guided by anxiety about what the children may not be able to accomplish. It is true that we cannot advise embroidery as a task, yet children can learn to see that fabrics have many textures and colors. Children need to experience a diverse range of activities such as song and music and learn about different people's dresses, food habits, celebration of festivals, etc. A multilingual classroom is a rich resource in this regard. Use of local materials, arts and knowledge. Easily available materials like pebbles, flower petals, etc. can be collected by the teacher to use for sorting games and flower petals from the ground and use them for sorting activities. Both in rural areas as well as in metropolitan contexts, children can gain a lot through knowing local arts and crafts, stories and folk tales, songs and language variations. Such experiences enhance children's social competence and awareness about the socio-cultural backgrounds of different people. But children of rural communities do not get opportunities to use contemporary materials. Developmentally appropriate practices. The practices need to cover all domains of development, individually appropriate as well as contextually meaningful. Learning activities must be concrete, real and relevant to the lives of children as learning is an interactive process. A flexible approach will lead to plural and context-specific curricular models reflecting the enormous social, cultural, ecological, economic and linguistic diversity of our country. Above all, the curriculum has to be transacted by the teacher and the significance of the teacher's role and guidance cannot be overemphasized. Health, well-being and healthy habits. Children learn many things at preschools. Early childhood setting ensures their overall well-being and development of healthy habits such as keeping clean teeth and nails, washing behind the ears and between toes, as well as create awareness about indicators of poor health and avoidance of certain practices. Children in the age group of 3 to 8 are in the process of forming habits. Teaching children healthy habits is equipping them with attitudes of self-care and clean living and encouraging them to develop self-monitoring competencies. So, to conclude, hoping that you have understood the varied aspects and importance of setting up a right curriculum, this is Dr. Danya signing off for today. Meet you again with some other components of early childhood education. Thank you.